My girlfriend texted, "Late gym session?" I replied, "Okay." I found her car in the lot with her trainer. I tipped the valet $100 to box their car in. Now they're trapped and she won't stop calling me. I, 32 male, am, or rather was, a creature of habit. I liked my life the way I liked my coffee, strong, predictable, and devoid of unpleasant surprises. For 5 years, Jacqueline, 30, had been a central part of that predictability. We built a life in a nice apartment, the kind with big windows and a granite countertop we were both ridiculously proud of. It was a good life. Stable. Then came Christian. Christian was her personal trainer. He had teeth so white they looked like a picket fence for his tongue, and a vocabulary that consisted primarily of crush it, reps, and synergy. Jacqueline started talking about him a few months ago. Christian says I'm not engaging my core. Christian thinks I'd benefit from intermittent fasting. Christian. He was a walking, talking, Lululemon-clad phantom in our apartment. Tonight my phone buzzed at 7:15 p.m. Jacqueline gonna be a late gym session. Christian is killing me with a new leg day routine. So a little pinprick of wrongness jabbed at me. She hated leg day, and she always sent 2 X's. Always. It was one of our stupid coupley things. So I did something I've never done before. I broke my routine. I drove to the gym. It's one of those bougie places with a restaurant attached, the kind of place where people wear more makeup to work out than they do to weddings. It has a valet. Her car, a tidy little blue sedan, was there, but it wasn't in the main lot. It was tucked away in the restaurant's valet-only section. And sitting in the passenger seat, with the windows fogged up in a way that had nothing to do with the evening chill, was Christian. I couldn't see much, just silhouettes, but you don't need a forensic analysis to understand that kind of scene. My first thought wasn't anger. It was quiet. A cold, clear silence descended in my head. Hysteria is for people who think it will change something. I knew in that instant that nothing would ever be the same. The goal was no longer preservation. It was management. I parked across the street and watched for a minute. Then I walked over to the valet stand. A young guy, probably a college kid, was scrolling on his phone. "Excuse me," I said, pulling out my wallet. I placed a crisp $100 bill on his little podium. His eyes widened. "See that blue sedan over there? And the big black SUV next to it?" He nodded, suddenly very attentive. "I need you to find the biggest, most obnoxiously large truck you have in this lot," I said, my voice even. "And I need you to park it directly behind them, so close they can't even think about getting out. Bumper to bumper. Consider it a geometry problem." He looked from the 100 to me, a slow grin spreading across his face. "Yes, sir. Geometry problem. I can do that." I went home, I poured myself a whiskey. I sat on the couch we bought together, and I waited. 20 minutes later, my phone lit up. Jacqueline. I let it ring. It stopped. A few seconds later, a text. "Jacqueline. Hey, where are you? My car is blocked in. It's insane. Some idiot parked a monster truck behind me. Are you home? Pick up." Then the calls started again, one after another. I just watched the screen light up, her name flashing like a warning light. It was fascinating, really. The predictable escalation, the manufactured panic. Then, a new number. I answered, putting it on speaker. "Hello? Hey man, this is Christian." His voice was tight, annoyed. "Jacqueline's phone is about to die. We're kinda stuck here." "Oh, that's a shame," I said, swirling the whiskey in my glass. "How'd that happen?" "Some moron valet parked this huge truck right behind her car. The kid who did it is long gone, and the manager is giving us the runaround, saying the valet company is a separate contractor. It's a whole thing." The kid earned that 100, I thought. Bought the action and the plausible deniability. I asked, keeping my tone light. "I thought Jacqueline had a late gym session." A beat of silence on the other end. I could practically hear the gears grinding in his head, the ones not dedicated to squat form. "Yeah, well, we were just grabbing a post-workout smoothie," he stammered. "At 9 p.m.? In her car? In the valet lot?" I asked, "Listen, man, can you just come get her or something? This is ridiculous." The entitlement. Oh, it was glorious, as if I were his personal Uber driver. "I don't think I can," I said, and a real, genuine sliver of pain cut through the cold. "I'm busy." I hung up. Jacqueline started calling again immediately. I ignored it. She switched to texts. "I can't believe you're doing this. What is wrong with you? I'm stranded. Christian was just giving me a ride. Fine, I'm taking a cab. We are going to talk about this. You've lost your mind. The final text confirmed it. Not, I'm so sorry. Not, we need to talk. But, you've lost your mind. The narrative was already being written in her head. I was the crazy, jealous boyfriend. They were the innocent victims of a parking mishap. They don't know it yet, but they're still trapped. The car is just the beginning. The box they're in is much, much bigger than they can imagine. Update 1. The confrontation the next morning was a masterclass in deflection. She didn't confess. She accused. You followed me. You embarrassed me. You have serious trust issues. The lie this time was that Christian's car wouldn't start and he was just waiting with her for a tow truck. A different story from the one he told me on the phone. Amateurs. The air in the apartment grew thick and toxic. We were ghosts haunting the same hallways. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. After 3 days of this silent Cold War, I knew I couldn't stay. I need some space, Jacqueline, I told her. I'm gonna stay with a friend for a bit. I saw a flicker of relief in her eyes, quickly masked by a look of faux concern. If that's what you think is best, she said softly. They let me go. They thought my leaving was a surrender. A friend of mine who lives in our building called me 4 days later. Hey, not to be weird, he said, but has that gym guy, Christian, moved in? His ridiculously large SUV has been in your designated parking spot for 2 days straight. So that was their strategy. Not to have a messy fight, but to simply wait for me to retreat and then fortify their position. Let me abandon the territory, then claim it as their own. It was a patient, insidious plan. But my leaving wasn't a retreat, it was a strategic relocation. While they were playing house, I was making quiet, deliberate moves. The first target was small but symbolic. In our living room, there was a large, expensive piece of abstract art we'd bought together. We called it the chromatic aberration. We'd split the cost, but I paid for it on my credit card, and she had transferred her half to me. The receipt, the original invoice, the credit card statement, all in my name. I went down to the county courthouse and filed a writ of replevin, a legal action to recover personal property. The filing fee was $75. Okay, the clerk said, stamping the forms. We'll get the other party served within the next 10 business days. You'll get a court date in the mail. Expect it to be in about 6 to 8 weeks. The wheels of justice grind slowly, I thought, but they do grind. It wasn't about the painting. It was about establishing a precedent. It was about documentation. It was about showing them that I will not be playing the game by their emotional, gaslighting rules. I will be using the system. And the system is patient, methodical, and does not care about your feelings. It only cares about the evidence. They think this is a domestic dispute. They have no idea it's about to become a paperwork war. Update 2. They escalated. I knew they would, but I didn't expect them to be so viciously creative. They weaponized the system against me in a way that was both brilliant and horrifying. Last Tuesday, 2 police officers showed up at my friend's apartment. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my face calm. They were responding to a harassment complaint filed by Christian Vance. Christian claimed I had been driving by the apartment, making threatening gestures, and had left a disturbing note on his car. All of it was pure fiction. I hadn't been within 5 miles of the place. The police were professional but firm. They took my statement, but it was clear it was a he said, she said situation. Just stay away from the property and from him, sir. Let things cool down, one of them advised. That police report was just the first stage. 3 days later, I was served. Jacqueline had used that flimsy police report as grounds to file for a temporary restraining order, TRO. She claimed to be in fear for her safety due to my increasingly erratic and obsessive behavior. The order was granted by a judge who saw a woman claiming to be scared of her ex-boyfriend. It's an easy box to check. The TRO was legally binding. I was forbidden from coming within 100 yards of Jacqueline and our shared apartment. They had done it. They had used a perverse twist of the law to legally bar me from my own home. My landlord, Mr. Arthur, called me that evening. His tone was chilly and distant. I've been sent a copy of a restraining order, he said. Per the order, you are legally prohibited from accessing the property. I have to abide by the court's instructions. We can discuss the future of the lease after your formal hearing, but until then, my hands are tied. They had won. It was a checkmate move. I was legally exiled, paying rent on an apartment I couldn't enter, while my ex and her lover lived there, rent-free on my dime. For a day, I felt that cold dread again. The feeling of being outmaneuvered. But vulnerability is just a data point. It tells you where the weakness is. My weakness was being cut off from my home. Their weakness? Their entire scheme was built on a foundation of gross unprofessionalism. I stopped thinking about the apartment. I started thinking about Elysian Fitness, Christian's employer. I sat down and composed a calm, professional email to their corporate HR department. Subject: formal complaint regarding professional conduct of employee. Christian Vance and resulting legal complications. I laid out the timeline. I stated I was the long-term partner of his client, Jacqueline. I detailed how he had moved into the apartment I shared with her. Then I attached the pièce de résistance, a scanned copy of the temporary restraining order, with Jacqueline as the petitioner and me as the respondent. I wrote, Mr. Vance's decision to move in with his client has led to this extreme legal situation, where he is now a resident in a home from which I, the co-lessee, have been legally barred based on a complaint he initiated. This represents a staggering conflict of interest and a severe breach of the professional boundaries expected of your staff. This situation is causing significant legal and financial distress, all stemming from the unprofessional relationship initiated and escalated by your employee. I didn't call them liars. I didn't get emotional. I framed it as a corporate liability issue. I used their language: conflict of interest, legal complications, liability. The response was faster than I could have ever imagined. Within 24 hours, I got a call from a senior VP of Human Resources. She sounded like she drank nails for breakfast. She was horrified. Not morally, of course. But from a business perspective, she was apoplectic. She assured me a full and immediate investigation was being launched and thanked me for my discretion. The board is set. They played a powerful move, but they overextended. They brought the law into it, and now I've brought their employer into it. Let's see whose pieces are left standing. Final update. It's over. The end wasn't a single dramatic explosion. It was a series of controlled demolitions, each one bringing their shared fantasy crashing down over the course of 8 long weeks. First came the Tarot hearing. In a sterile courtroom, Jacqueline, coached by Christian, gave a tearful performance about how she feared for her safety. My turn. I didn't argue or get emotional. I presented facts, phone records showing I had never called her after she told me not to, GPS data from my phone showing I was never near the apartment when Christian claimed I was harassing him. The threatening note they couldn't produce. My lawyer calmly dismantled their story, revealing it as a transparent ploy to gain exclusive control of the apartment. The judge, seeing no credible evidence of a threat, dissolved the restraining order. Victory won. 2 weeks later was our small claims date for the chromatic aberration. It was almost comical. Christian was there again, whispering in Jacqueline's ear. When it was my turn, I just handed the judge the documents, the invoice, my credit card statement, the bank transfer. He barely looked at them before turning to Jacqueline. He paid for it. You paid him for half. Do you want to buy out his half? Jacqueline, flustered from her loss at the TRO hearing, sputtered. This is harassment. It's ours. The judge sighed. Judgment for the plaintiff. Schedule a time to get your property, son. He banged his gavel. Victory 2. A small one, but it was another official document proving my case. These court judgments were just the beginning. The real damage was happening elsewhere. Elysian Fitness. The HR investigation was as swift and brutal as I'd hoped. A premium gym cannot have trainers who start affairs with clients, move in with them, and then get entangled in restraining orders and police reports. The copy of the TRO I sent them was the nail in his coffin. It was concrete proof of extreme unprofessionalism. He was fired for gross professional misconduct and actions bringing the company into disrepute. His income, the very foundation of their plan, vanished. The landlord. Armed with the dissolved TRO and the small claims judgment, I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Arthur. I laid out the documents. I also politely informed him that Christian Vance was no longer employed by Elysian Fitness due to the circumstances. The narrative flipped instantly. I was no longer the unstable ex. I was the tenant who had been wronged and was vindicated by the court. They were the ones who had lied and lost their source of income. Mr. Arthur, fearing a lawsuit from me for the initial hassle, immediately served them a 30-day notice to either re-qualify on Jacqueline's meager income alone, impossible, or vacate the premises. The social circle. The truth unraveled. My friend from the building told others about Christian moving in the second I left. Our mutual friend, Jean, saw the whole story with clear eyes. My quiet factual success in court stood in stark contrast to the dramatic, false narrative Jacqueline had been spinning. People saw them for what they were. Their support system evaporated. The end. Jacqueline called me one last time from a blocked number. She was crying, not tears of remorse, but tears of rage. "I hope you're happy," she sobbed. "You've ruined everything. Christian lost his job. We're being evicted. All because you couldn't handle being left. You destroyed our lives." I waited for her to finish. The silence stretched. "I didn't do anything, Jacqueline," I said, my voice completely steady. "I just followed the rules. You're the ones who tried to break them. I just filled out the paperwork." I hung up and blocked the number. I moved back into the apartment last weekend. It's quiet. I had movers pick up the chromatic aberration. I don't want it. The symbolism is a little too on the nose. I'm selling it and using the money for a long vacation. They aren't tragic figures who learned a lesson. They're just bitter people who got beat at their own game. And that's fine. The quiet in my apartment is different now. It isn't the loud, tense silence of a relationship dying. It's just quiet. The calm after the storm. And for the first time in months, it feels like my own. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the sound of paperwork being filed correctly.